Hi and welcome back to the Books Are Everywhere. Today we are here with my October wrap-up. We are now in November, that is insane, but yeah, I'm here with my October wrap-up. I only read 6 books in October, which is not a massive amount for me personally, but it's all good. I did have quite a busy month. I did go on holiday abroad as well at the start of the month. Did not read very much during that time, and it was just, yeah, it was a busy month, so it's all good. I did still manage to read 6 books, and my reading did pick up towards the end of the month as well. I do feel like I was going into a bit of a slump, I won't lie, but then I did a little project which you will see shortly on my channel which did pick up my reading. Actually, I will just talk about it in this video because it's going to be very obvious when I show you the 4 books that I read at the end of the month, because I really did not read a lot, or the 3 books that I read at the end of the month, yeah, because one of them falls into November. But anyway, the first book I read is We'll Always Have Summer by Jenny Han. This is the 3rd book in the Summer I Turn Pretty series. If you've not heard of this series, I don't know where you've been. This is the end of the book series that inspired the Amazon Prime TV show, which I have been watching. I was watching season 3 in October, like I finished season 3 at the start of October. And I also read the 3rd book because I definitely enjoy the show more than I do the books. I've thought that throughout the whole time I've watched the show. I've then read the books after each series has come out. And I started reading this one before I'd seen the last episode, I think. And then I finished reading this one after I'd seen the last episode. I definitely didn't read anything before having seen what happened in the show at the end, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I enjoyed this one, but I definitely enjoy these because I enjoy the show so much. Like, if I didn't have the experience of watching and loving the show so much, then I don't think I would enjoy the books as much as I do. But I did enjoy this. I find them nostalgic, even though I didn't like read them when I was younger or anything. I do find that they just have like a nostalgic feel to them. But yeah, if you don't know about these, I just don't know where you've been. But this is following Isabel Conklin, Belly, and a love triangle she's in with her mom's best friend's sons. 2 sons, and also like the friendship she has and relationships like around that, like her mom and with her mom's friend and things like that. The whole series is kind of about everybody, but I say that the books are mostly about Belly and the boys. There's not really side characters stories as much as the TV show. I love that they fleshed that out for the TV show. I love following all of the characters. And you just don't really see that at all in the books. You just see Belly and the boys. This one is dual POV with Conrad as well, which I love. Who's not gonna love that? And I do love seeing how closely they kept with some of the chapters, like some of the paragraphs and stuff. I literally, it's like exactly what happened in the show. It's really interesting to see how they adapted it. But I also love how much they fleshed it out as well. I loved what they added. I think it worked out really, really well. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I definitely enjoy the show so much more, and I just think it gives so much more to this story. But I do think I'll always enjoy the books. I specifically bought this one on my way to Berlin because me and my friend were going to a tropical water park. So even though it was out of season in terms of it was not summer in Berlin, and nor is it summer here, it was going to be tropical and hot in the water park, and I wanted a book to read in the water park that made it feel summery. And the other read I had at the time, I can't remember what that was, but it was not very summery. Oh, it was Frankenstein, I think. Yeah, so here we go. I read this one. I've also realised I think I talked about Frankenstein at the end of my last wrap up, but I didn't talk about it much because I was currently reading it at the time. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars as well. Did I give it 3? Yeah, 3.5. To be honest, I feel like I probably gave better thoughts and feelings in that wrap up than I would now. because it's been a while since I finished that book now, but I did definitely enjoy Frankenstein. I liked the atmosphere of it, I liked the story, like the plot did keep me engaged. But yeah, go and check out my last wrap up for my thoughts and feelings on that, because I feel like it's been too long since I read it, I cannot talk about it anymore. I then read a proof called The Ending Writes Itself by Evelyn Clarke, who is the pen name for Cat Clarke and V. Schwab. I was not going to tell you that, but I think it's been announced like everywhere else, so I'm not providing any spoilers for that. This one actually doesn't come out until April 2026, and you can imagine how excited I was when I found out that V. Schwab was one of the authors for this book, and the fact I got my hands on a proof of this, I was very, very excited about this. But anyway, this is following quite a few different characters. It's a very interesting one. It's basically set around the idea that this author, this very famous author called Arthur Fletch, who is one of the world's most best-selling novelists, he dies and he lives on this like private island, and he's known to be a genius for his works of like crime fiction, and he dies before he's finished the end of his last book in this very popular series that he's been writing. So the publisher decides that they need somebody to finish the book, and they end up taking 6 different authors to a private island, to Arthur Fletcher's private island, and give them 72 hours to write the ending that will change their lives. So they give them this challenge, and they will say, if you write the ending and we pick your ending, you have this like massive deal, basically. They get loads of money from it, and they have a prize. But they only have 72 hours, and things start going interesting ways. I don't want to give too much away about this book because it doesn't come out until April next year, but it did keep me really hooked, and I love the way that this is broken down because it is split into parts. So you've got kind of between all of the different characters, it splits them down into different types of writers. There's like 6 different kind of types of different genres that they write. So it splits the book down into parts, and then the parts down into chapters as well, so it makes it very readable, which I really enjoyed, and I really liked how we flipped between the different points of view as well. And yeah, this one definitely kept me gripped till the end. I gave this 4.5 stars in the end. It was not quite a 5, but it was very, very close. I did really enjoy this one, and the way it talks about the publishing industry I really enjoyed. It's does not hold back, it does not hold any punches. It really reminded me of Yellowface in that way, and I think if you enjoyed Yellowface you will possibly enjoy this one even more. I would say I did. I then picked up a random audiobook, which was How to Date a Superhero and Not Die Trying by Cristina Fernandez. I've had this on my TBR for years. It came out in August 2022, and this is a proof from HarperCollins, so I'm very, very sorry HarperCollins, I finally got to it. And I actually quite enjoyed this one. This is one that I think I wouldn't request or pick up now if I saw it, but I just couldn't let it go for some reason. Like, I've gone through many an unhaul and I couldn't unhaul this, even though I knew I would probably not buy this now. It just sounded fun. It's following a girl called Max, and Max, she keeps to her schedule. She knows what time it is at all times. She has like a meticulous schedule, and she starts dating someone she finds out is a superhero, and it basically it throws all of that off balance. Like, her entire life is just turned upside down. And I found that just a really compelling concept, and I'm glad that I didn't like give this one up. I did give it 3.5 stars, but the experience of reading it I found really enjoyable, and I feel like it was executed really well, and I really liked Max as a main character. I found her quite relatable, and I found reading about her really interesting, and I found this actually explored some really, really interesting topics, especially for a young adult book. I feel like it did do a bit of a deep dive into some really important topics that I think we should explore in young adult books, like stress and burnout and overworking yourself. And it was also really inclusive as well, and really diverse, so I really liked that. I think there were some really good elements to this. It was quite low stakes. Well, in some ways it's quite high stakes because, you know, superheroes, but it was a fun, entertaining read in a lot of ways because superheroes. words are not coming out right today. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It took me way too long to read it, but that's because I just didn't have that many opportunities to listen to audiobooks at the time I was reading this. But yeah, I gave this 3.5 stars and I quite enjoyed it. I then went on to read several different Agatha Christie books, and that is why I was saying there is another project and video that this will be linked with, because I will talk about all of these Agatha Christie books in more depth in the Agatha Christie project video that is coming out very shortly. So you will see that video soon, and I will talk about all of these books in more detail in that video if you want to go and see it. But the first one I read is Murder on the Orient Express, and I read this over a course of like 3 or 4 days. Honestly, it was quite quick. It's only like 240 pages. It's 240 pages exactly, this copy. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I feel like I don't need to go into much like depth about these because it's Agatha Christie, she's the queen of crime. But this is following, it's a Poirot book, it's following Poirot. He's on the Orient Express, the train, and somebody is murdered, and he basically interviews everyone in the train to try and find out and come to a conclusion of what happened to the person that was murdered and how they were murdered and who they were murdered by. And that's where I really liked this one. I thought the interviewing aspect of this was really well done, like the fact that we just went from character to character. It was really broken up in a sequential way that I really enjoyed and I just found really pleasing for my brain. And I think it's relevant to say that, and I go into more detail about that in my other video. But I just enjoyed the way it was broken down, and that's something I found I really like about Agatha Christie books in general, is when they have like a sequential plot where you're just following someone investigating all of the murders, like doing one thing after another, if that makes sense. But yeah, I really liked this. I did already know how it ended because I'd seen the 2019 movie, but I still really enjoyed this. I still got a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's obviously hard to say how I would have reacted if I hadn't already seen the film, so it's a kind of a shame about that, because I couldn't forget how it ended. Like, it wasn't leaving my head, unfortunately. But I'm glad that I finally read this, and I actually rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. Found it really compelling as well. I then went on to read a couple of other Agatha Christie books, the next one being And Then There Were None, which also took me like 5 days to read, so quite quick. It's also like 240-ish pages, 230. I didn't enjoy this one as much though, sadly. This one is not following a particular detective. It's set around an island, interestingly, has a lot of comparisons between these two. I did not think this was inspired by anything, but going in to read this I was like, hang on, but is it inspired by this? Because this is also set on a private island. There are 10 people who go to this private island, and the reason it's called And Then There Were None is because the idea is that they will all be dead at the end of it because of this nursery rhyme. I don't think that's a spoiler to say because the title, and also it's Agatha Christie, I feel like people know this by now probably, or get the idea. But anyway, this is following these 10 people as they go onto this private island off the coast of Devon, and they end up dying one by one, and there's this nursery rhyme that explains like what will happen next, basically. And I did still enjoy this, and I actually found it more compelling than I expected, but I just found myself not caring as much, and I think that's because I just didn't really feel connected to any of the characters. I think there's also too many, like 10 people for a 230 page book. I'm not going to know really or care who those people particularly are. And I think that's something I struggle with Agatha Christie in general. But I did enjoy elements of this. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. And last but not least, we have Death on the Nile, also by Agatha Christie, and this one I also rated 3 out of 5 stars. We are back to a Poirot, we are back to a locked room. He is on a ship, this time on the Nile, unsurprisingly, and there's a death, unsurprisingly, and he has to investigate it. So in some ways very similar to Murder on the Orient Express, but we're on a boat this time. But this one I found not so sequential, like it's not broken down into that we're going to interview every single person who was on this ship and there will be like chapters where we do that. And that's where I had this direct comparison of realising that I actually enjoy when it's broken down like that, and I find when it's not, I don't enjoy it so much, and I don't find it as compelling to read. I did also partly listen to the audiobook of this, which I quite enjoyed, and I found that the narrator, which is Kenneth Branagh, was quite good, and I think he might narrate other audiobooks as well by Agatha Christie, because he played Poirot, and apparently directed Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile and A Haunting in Venice, which I didn't know he directed them as well. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I actually read this in like a day because I went between reading chunks of it physically and listening to the audiobook when I was out and about that day. So I found that quite enjoyable, but I just didn't really care all that much about the characters again. And I think maybe again there was too many for me to really care that much about. So I found some interesting things out about Agatha Christie and what I like and don't like about her books, and if you want to know more about that, check out that other video when it comes up. But yeah, I rated this one 3 out of 5 stars also. So those are the 6 books that I read in October, not counting Frankenstein, which I read over September and October. But yeah, I didn't read a massive amount, but I hope you still enjoyed this video. I'm sorry my words are not really coming out correctly today, and I'm just struggling them with, just to prove it to you, I'm struggling with words in general, and also I've just been ill, so my voice is not all there. But thank you for sticking with me anyway if you've reached it to the end of this video, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!